Welcome to the first episode in our new series where we journey through every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, not as scholars, but as seekers. This isn't a crash course, it's an inner excavation. And we begin not with summaries, but with the moment that changed everything. Before Instagram quotes, before gurus and YouTube channels, before the idea of self-help even existed, there was this. A divine dialogue in the middle of a war, spoken not in a temple, but in a battlefield. This is the Bhagavad Gita. Not a book, but a moment. Not a philosophy, but a mirror. There comes a moment when the heart hesitates, and the mind breaks when right and wrong blur, and duty no longer feels divine. In that moment, the Bhagavad Gita was born. Not written, revealed, on a battlefield where war was about to erupt. But the real conflict raged within. A kingdom once whole became fractured, its foundations shaken not by enemies, but by ambition, silence, and entitlement within the family. Long before the battlefield of Kurukshetra echoed with the sound of conch shells, the seeds of war had already been sown. Not in weapons, but in the hearts of kings, in the silence of injustice, and in the failure to uphold Dharma. The Gita is a chapter, but its stage is a war that brewed for generations. Not just over kingdom, but over Dharma, pride, and a kingdom poisoned by silence. When the elders stayed silent, and injustice grew roots. When Dharma, the sacred order of the cosmos, was bent by politics, pride, and power. Duryodhan, fueled by envy, could never bear the growing influence and nobility of the Pandava. His hatred wasn't born overnight. It brewed over years of courtly rivalry, favoritism, and wounded pride. A game meant for sport became a gamble of Dharma. Yudhishthir lost more than land. He lost the illusion of peace. In the royal court of Hastinapur, Dharma was humiliated. Yudhishthir, bound by duty, gambled away his kingdom, his brothers, and even Draupadi. The silence of the elders, the laughter of the Kaurav, and the humiliation of Draupadi became a cosmic turning point. An empire stood still as one woman's dignity was torn. That day, the war didn't begin, but something died. Dharma lost its voice, and yet she did not break. The Pandavas served 13 years of exile, waiting patiently for peace to be restored. But when they returned to claim their rightful share, even 5 villages were denied. Even the divine Lord Krishna offered a final chance, not for victory, but for harmony. But arrogance heard no reason. He was ignored, insulted, and dismissed. War was no longer a choice. It was the final expression of a Dharma long ignored. The war was not born in a day. It was the fruit of centuries, of silence, injustice, and the refusal to act when Dharma demanded it. Why did Bhishma stay silent? Why did Dhritarashtra never stop his son? Why did Karna burn in loyalty for the man who weaponized his pain? The Mahabharata isn't just an epic. It's a wound that kept bleeding across generations. Envy, ego, attachment, love versus duty, fear disguised as tradition. And it all explodes here, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjun, the warrior prince, sees those he once touched feet of. Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and he is frozen. His cousins stand opposite him, some of whom he once played with as a child. He asks,
What is the point of all this? Even if I win, what do I win? A throne built on the corpses of my kin?
This is where the Gita begins, not with answers, but with collapse. Arjun doesn't need motivation. He needs clarity. What's the use of victory if it costs you your soul, your peace, your loved ones? He says,
Govinda, I shall not fight.
and here, where action halts, wisdom begins. Because standing beside him, holding the reins, is Krishna, not just his friend, not just a charioteer, but the voice of inner truth, the mirror we avoid. Arjun isn't weak, he is fully human. He is asking what you and I ask when we're torn.
If I do what's right, why does it feel so painful? Why does Dharma sometimes feel like self-destruction?
That moment, where clarity is buried under emotion, is when the Gita speaks. What is the Gita? Strip away the incense, the commentaries, the centuries of worship, and at its core, the Gita is a confrontation. It is the moment when a man is paralyzed by doubt, and the voice of truth doesn't console him, it challenges him. The Gita did not stop the war, it awakened the warrior. It didn't prevent destruction, it prevented despair. You are not here to escape life. You are here to understand it. Because truth isn't soft, it's precise, piercing. Arjun wants reasons to walk away from the battle. Krishna offers him none. Instead, he begins by dismantling Arjun's very identity.
You are not your body. You are not even your emotions. You are the eternal witness, that which cannot be killed.
In just 700 verses, Krishna builds the architecture of inner clarity. What is real? What is temporary? What drives action? What corrupts it? What keeps the mind enslaved? The Gita isn't meant to be worshipped. It's meant to be lived. Every word is an arrow aimed not at the enemy, but at the illusions you carry. Krishna doesn't promise success. He promises awareness. He doesn't ask Arjun to suppress emotion. He shows him how to act without being consumed by it. And in doing so, he reveals the central paradox of life. You are the doer, and you are not the doer. That is the weight of the Gita. It doesn't simplify life, it deepens your understanding of it. It doesn't ask for blind faith, it demands radical honesty. It's not philosophy, it's psychological surgery. And that's why, thousands of years later, it still matters. Because the war hasn't ended, it just moved inward. What makes the Gita timeless isn't just the battlefield or the bow, it's the battlefield inside us. You may not be standing with a chariot and arrows, but every day you stand at Kurukshetra when you're torn between what's easy and what's right. When you hesitate to speak the truth because it might break something comfortable. When you know what must be done, but you're waiting for a sign to avoid it, that is your moment. The Gita whispers not just to saints and seekers, but to people in offices, on buses, in bedrooms, at midnight staring at the ceiling. Act, it says, but don't cling. Feel, it says, but don't drown. Move, it says, but know the outcome is not in your hands. This is not detachment. This is liberation. And the one who reminds you of that is not outside you. It is the Krishna within, the one who watches silently as you crumble under the weight of your own expectations. The Gita still matters because we are still torn, because our battles have only changed shape, from kingdoms to relationships, from arrows to decisions, because the question hasn't changed. What is the point of all this? And neither has the answer. You do your duty. You remember who you are. You surrender what is not yours. In the end, Arjun doesn't become fearless. He becomes clear. He picks up his bow, not because his doubts vanished, but because he understood they were no longer in charge. He sees that clarity doesn't come when the war ends. It comes when the war within is seen for what it is, a call to rise. The Gita doesn't say, run away. It says, act with awareness. It doesn't ask you to shut down your heart. It asks you to align it with your truth. Dharma isn't a rule. It's a resonance. And when you hear it, even silence becomes strength. This is not mythology. This is a manual. This is not a call to worship. It's a call to wake up. And in that chariot, across time, Krishna is still speaking. The question is, are you listening? To start on your Bhagavad Gita journey at Pause with Dharma, don't forget to click on subscribe. Thank you.